Two nuns walk into a pub in Ireland, and the barman says, "Hello there, sisters. What can I do for you today? I guess you're collecting for the local orphanage." And one of the nuns says, "No, not today. I'll have a whiskey, make that a double, and Sister Mary here will have a gin and tonic, and make that a double as well." So, taken back by this, the barman says, "Well, I assume you're buying these drinks to help the poor who are a little thirsty and they just want a nice little alcoholic beverage." "No, no," said the nun, "we're buying it for ourselves." So barman pours him the drinks, and he's still mystified by this. And he said, "Well, I have to say," he says, "I think this is a little unusual for nuns to walk into a pub and ask for a drink, an alcoholic beverage as such." One of the nuns says, "Well, we're doing this for Mother Superior." "Really?" "Yes," she said, "she's been constipated for weeks, and we've tried giving her every laxative you could ever wish to think of. And when she sees us coming back to the convent, pissed out of our minds, she'll shit herself with shock."
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. Not another exciting show, but another one. And tonight our guest is John Hamer, author John Hamer. Hello, John.
Hi, Chris. How's it going, mate?
Mustn't grumble.
I see the intro was up to your usual high standards there.
High quality, wasn't it? Yes. There's a few fart gags coming up later, so there we go. Because we like to start on a very low note and then just go downwards from there on.
Yeah. Sort of
So
start badly, then just fade away, kind of thing.
That's right. Well, I've pissed everybody off so far, and I thought I might as well piss Catholics off, because I've actually upset almost every other religion. So I thought, why not have a bash at Catholics?
Yeah.
Might as well. Yeah.
Nice. But I mean, I'll say one thing about you, Chris. You're horrible, but you're very fair. You're horrible to everybody.
Well, the French were a bit upset, wasn't it? Because what was it? History is written by the victors, and that's why French history books have got so many blank pages. You see, so
yeah, and it's also why the Italian Book of War Heroes is one of the shortest books in the world, isn't
it? Do you remember when Clarkson got on board an Italian tank, and he got on board and he said a classic? He said, "I'm sure this is in reverse." That's the old gag, isn't it? Yeah. But Italian tanks have got 1 forward gear and 5 reverse. Actually, in reality, they fought like lions. They really did. And they remember the Romans, who they're descendants from, they were the most successful army, believe it or not, until recently. I say recently, the last couple of 100 years. And I was quite shocked to find out the second most successful were the French. Believe it or not. Napoleon, they really did. Anyway, tonight we've got a mixture of things. I've got a couple of call outs to do, first of all. And we've got Nathan. We're going to be dragging him on, kicking and screaming a little bit later, aren't we? I don't want to come on, get on here, And now, first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Christine, who's suggested a guest. Isn't that kind of you? Thanks, Christine. Sent me an email. And I'm always open to suggestions for guests and things like that, as long as it's not, people like the Prime Minister or anything like that. I don't think he'd want to come on here, would he? Now, there's a very serious thing I'd like to say, first of all. I'm going to do a show about councils, local councils, because I've been doing some investigations into my local council, and it's like a rabbit hole. The deeper you go, the more you find, and the more you find, and you can't tear yourself away from it, because you think this is contagious. Contagious, because you start looking and you find something that's not quite right. Then you look a bit more, and you think, what on earth's going on? I mean, I found out various companies the local council owns, and local councils not only in Great Britain but throughout the world, in Ireland, America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, you name it. They all seem to be on the old with our dosh. So that's going to be an interesting program, hopefully. And anybody from overseas, you got anything to say about your local councils, even if they're doing a good job, I don't mind saying about it and how much they charge, because the local council tax here has gone up £100 a year. I've got to pay £100 more for less, basically. And I guess you
same here.
really,
Same here.
yeah, because the tax is not a tax, not a tax. It is an invoice, and but we'll be going into that on another show, and it's actually illegal allegedly. So they've got about as much to put that into pop that through your letterbox as a local supermarket has. But anyway, gotta be careful what I say here. I used to go along to a place called the Kent Freedom Movement, which is in Kent, and they used to have some very interesting speakers there. And I used to pop down over to Kent, quite a few times. And I'm going back about 10 plus years ago now. Surprising how time flies. And I haven't been there it all folded up, unfortunately. But the thing is, I met a very nice couple there. I won't mention their name, but I got talking to them, got to know them quite well. We haven't been in contact for years. And I heard that the lady has got stage 4, something beginning with C, which we can't mention on YouTube, but it's not very nice. It's a standard thing. And what's happened, she knew a lot about law, and she stopped paying her council tax. And what's happened is the bailiffs, loads of them came along. Now, I've taken these pictures out of her local newspaper. I heard what happened from a friend of mine who lives in Kent, that he wasn't there. So I've got to be careful what I say, but what I've gleaned from the press, which is iffy, so I've pieced things together, and it's happened in, I won't say where in Kent, but this was a picture outside the poor woman and her husband's house. And what happened apparently is an ambulance was called because she's very, very ill. And there's the ambulance outside her house. And when the ambulance people came into her house, what happened is the bailiffs, when they opened the door, pushed their way in. And as she was laying in bed and they were treating this lady, and she didn't have much clothing on, the bailiff was trying to get into her bedroom. And it is really quite horrendous. This is what I've read in the press. And she was out, her and her husband are out in the freezing cold. Remember, she's got stage 4 of a certain disease that it begins with C. And what's happened is the Kent resistance movement. Yes, there's a Kent resistance movement, and it's big. I've got her back into her house, and even though she knows a lot about law, she's very, very sick at the moment. So she's not strong enough to really fight these people. I mean, in the courts and things like that. So the Kent resistance movement have taken up the case, and they're going to be fighting for her. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because this person's a very nice person, her and her husband. I've met them both. I've spoken to them quite a lot. So let's hope everything's okay there. And I just thought I had to sort of mention that. And this will be I'll probably be saying more, because there's some people from Kent watching this show tonight, and they'll be saying, oh, he said that wrong, and that's wrong, and that didn't happen, and this happened, and that. So the only information I've got is from my friend in Kent who wasn't there, and from the local newspapers, which you can't trust. And it was also in the Daily Mail as well. So there we go. But how do I remove this? That's it. Right, got that off there. I put that on there. Right, now before we start, I think we're going to cover a whole range of topics tonight. And first of all, I did another survey on Fockham Hall Telegram. Now, people say they don't see me much on Facebook. I'm on a fair amount on Fockham Hall group of Facebook, but I don't go onto the general Facebook, only to advertise this show. And if you want to find out more information, I generally post more on Telegram because you don't have to worry about too much about censorship there. You're not going to be disciplined and saying you're a naughty person for saying tit or bum or whatever it is, But anyway, I did a survey, and here it comes, John. So here it is. And it says, if a massive wake-up happens and the traitors of this country are put on trial, what should happen to them if found guilty, you see? And started from the bottom, I said, lock them in a cell with a lefty for an hour each day. That's a terrible punishment. Lock them in a cell with an insurance, and you added, John, didn't you? Or a double glazing salesman for an hour each day. That would be torture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure the United Nations will allow that because that's such a severe torture, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's worse than Guantanamo Bay, I believe. So
I think so. Yes. I mean, I've had 10 minutes of a double glazing salesman at the door the other day, and that was enough. I had to take, calming tablets afterwards. Lock them in a cell and throw away the key. Good idea. Put them on a chain gang to repair roads, etc. That got 14%. Asset strip them, move them to a ghetto on a remote island. Have a psychopath test. If positive, send to remote island. Re-education. Place them on an island with infrastructure for life. Life imprisonment. And guess what got the top? Executed. 58%.
How benign.
Yes. Well, I actually think that the method of execution, and I am joking here because I don't believe in capital punishment, is to have a bungee rope around the neck, you see, over an open sewer. And we could they go boing, up again, boing, and we could actually have bets on how many times they bounce. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So going up the sewer, straight underneath the sewage, whoop, up again it goes.
Yeah.
Sadistic little sod, aren't I? Anyway, John, we was going to speak about, well, basically the history of money in a way. And something I'm fascinated with is tally sticks, because there's, should we say it's a rumor that things are going to go tits up with a fake cyber attack on the banks.
Yeah.
Now, have you heard that one?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a trial run actually this week or over the weekend. Apparently Sainsbury's and Tesco's were hit with a, shall we say, an incident which stopped them taking credit cards. So I don't know. It may be quite innocent, but I don't know if either you or any good people out there heard about this. But apparently, hundreds of large supermarkets were turning people away with credit cards because their systems had been attacked or there was a malfunction. Really? It was never specified what it was. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, it does seem that, because you see all this idea of just using cards and not using cash. People with cash, do you think what an advantage they've got? It's incredible.
I mean, even the mainstream was saying this is a good argument for not getting rid of cash. Because they've got, if everything's totally electronic, they've got the ability to switch us off as individuals or as a whole. They have control.
Well, they do, and
we're now in control of your television set. Anything can happen. Next half hour.
That's right. That's right. And also, just think, I'm not sure if it's true, but I was told that they can switch your electric car off. Have you got an electric car?
I've heard this as well. Probably from you, actually, Chris. But no, I might have heard it somewhere else as well. Yeah.
Well, did you hear that bloke on the internet? Sorry, on the YouTube. He's paid £140,000 out for a Porsche electric car. And I'm not sure how long ago, but it wasn't that long ago, about a year, 2 years, maybe 3, I don't know. And he's fed up with it. He's sick of it because I'm not accusing Porsche, no, don't get me wrong, but generally electric cars, a lot of manufacturers, again, not necessarily Porsche, but a lot of manufacturers have hyped up the range, and you can halve it. So instead of about 300, it might be 150 or 100 or something like that.
Yeah,
This bloke is up to here with it. And remember, he paid £140,000.
Right.
And guess what the trading price is? Between 28,000 and 41,000.
Yeah, I can believe it. I mean, there is no market for second-hand electric cars. You know, and in fact, I'm happy to say that a lot of manufacturers are starting to pull back from them.
Good. And also, the good thing about it, or the bad thing about it, is Paul's sort of, I can't remember the exact figure, but I know it's over £100,000 to replace the battery. So it's worth more than the car's worth. So you don't
and they only last 60 to 70,000 miles. The manufacturers state this, they only last 60 to 70,000 miles.
If you're lucky.
You know, it's nothing. Yeah, if you're lucky, yeah. And what the hell are you going to do with all these dead batteries? You know, in 3, 4, 5 years' time? Where are they going? Yeah, of course, electric cars are green. Yeah. Just think of all that, you know, wastage. You know, that makes anybody who's listening and doesn't know this, electric car batteries are absolutely huge. They're not like normal car batteries. They take up the whole of the floor of the car, and they weigh a minimum of half a ton. Some of them on the bigger vehicles weigh up to a ton. So where the hell are all those things going? I mean, to be fair, it's not worth replacing them because the cars are effectively a write-off once the battery's gone.
But a bloke said on his show, he said they are disposable cars. Like you get a disposable razor, you have a disposable car.
Where's the green in that? You know,
I know it's bonkers. I mean, I still think the best electric vehicles ever designed was the milk float. It's brilliant. It did the job just right. It stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. It delivered the milk.
Local journeys only. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it worked a trick. If they could get an electric car to go just down the shops and back, lead acid battery. Look at golf trolleys, a little, you know, buggies I use. They go quite a distance. 20-mile range, something like that. Lead acid, cheap, cheerful. I might have one if they were cheap enough just to go to the shops, because it kills a petrol engine or diesel engine to go local, because a petrol engine is designed to get started and get warmed up and just keep going. So if you're trundling down the motorway, brilliant. So I'd like to see more cars, not less cars, but you use it like a toolkit. You know, you get a hammer out to do one job, and you get a screwdriver out to do another job. Well, you use your electric car just to nip down to the shops and go and see what's it down the road, and use your petrol or diesel car to go long journeys. Fine. Wouldn't that be good? And you can have like little tiny electric cars, little pissy little things.
Yeah. A bit like glorified invalid cars, you know.
Well, you think about it. I mean, you and your missus, you could have like a 2-seat car. Even one, doesn't really matter. I mean, do you go shopping together? I don't know. I mean,
we do. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, you know, you have to take, if you're going shopping in them, you have to leave enough room for the shopping. You know, like the smart car, for example. You know, it doesn't, as far as I can tell, I've never been in one, but it just looks like there's 2 seats in it and no room for anything else at all. So if you're going to do a sizable shop, you know, it needs to be something a bit bigger than a smart car, doesn't it?
The only problem with my smart car is the engine's at the back and it heats the back up. So if you get frozen food and shove that in the back, it fries it on the way home. So you've got to put it in the front. And, you know, it's not very nice, you know, for ladies. Well, suppose you got your missus there and she's got a frozen stuff on her lap. It's not going to be very pleasant, is it? You're very cold today, dear, aren't you? Oh yeah, I've got the frozen fish fingers on my lap, you know. But no, I mean, that would be, I've often thought the best utility vehicle was a Jeep. Look at the American Jeep. If they had something like a Jeep, not even you know, you could have like a, what's the name, cover over the top, really cheap. Lead acid batteries, super cheap, just a utility vehicle.
What were they called in the 60s and 70s? Mini Moke. You remember them?
Mini Moke, yeah.
Yeah, one of those kind of things, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't
That'd be
mind
the
that.
ideal around town transport, wouldn't it? Something along those
Yeah.
lines, but electric. Yeah.
Well, I hate public transport. I loathe it. I'd rather walk than go by public transport.
Oh yeah.
I mean, coming by train. I
It's
mean,
appalling, isn't it? Oh yeah. Well, we back end of last year, I did a talk up in Aberdeen, and we were kindly invited up by a guy up there that I know, and to his group, his Truth group, and we stayed up there a couple of nights. But what I'm coming on to say, to cut a long story short, we went by train because quite frankly, I didn't fancy the 400-mile journey from here. And that's 400 miles each way, by the way, not round trip, even from as far north as I am compared to you.
Yeah.
It's still 400 miles to Aberdeen. So we took the train, and it was an absolute bloody nightmare. It really was. It took 7 hours on the train. And, it was just a living hell. I mean, the carriages were absolutely full to overflowing, full of screaming kids, stupid bloody teenagers messing about, and I took a book to read, but I had to give up. It was just impossible. It was like bedlam in the carriage, and it was exactly the same coming back down as well. 7 hours of hell, basically.
Yes, and you pay a lot of money for it.
It wasn't cheap. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a couple of £100 each on the train.
Well, as a bloke, he travelled. He had to go to London. I think it was from Slough or somewhere like that. Not Slough. Somewhere in Wiltshire.
Yeah.
Bath, somewhere around that area.
Yeah.
And it's over £100 one way to get to London. Yeah. And he found it cheaper to buy a push bike and cycle than go by train. It took me a couple of hours longer, obviously. But the thing is that what I don't like about this communal trains, I mean, what is it about this attitude that, we've all got to be communal, sit in a train? I don't want to sit uncomfortable in a train. I want to sit in my own car and listen to music.
Well, that's it. I mean, they are uncomfortable. You feel like you're hemmed in. It's just horrible. Squashed in with somebody that you don't know. It's just not very pleasant at all.
And also, when you arrive at your destination and you're seeing friends or anything like that, you're forever looking at your watch. Oh, yeah, well, I've got to catch the train. I've got to catch the 2 o'clock back. And you're on edge all the time because, I can't miss the train. Because once you book the ticket, if you miss that train, you got to buy another ticket. That's what it used to be. I know it's the same. John, do you find that?
Yeah, and then you're living in fear of it being cancelled or whatever, because I mean, it's just crazy. It's not worth the effort.
Anyway, should we have a quick shufty in chat? And the first one in chat, I checked this morning. I said, hello, Rob, he's disappeared. But at about 10 o'clock this morning, there he was. He's disappeared. We've got DJ Flipped. Hello, DJ. And we got Paul Green. We've got Aunt Sally. Hello, Aunt Sally. How are you these days? And we've got Louise Wilcox. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Hello, John. Good to see you again.
Hi, Louise. Good to hear from you.
That's
Hope
it.
you're well.
We've got Ralph Winter. Evening, Chris and John. We've got Chris the Gardener. Evening, Chris and John. Fond regards to all in chat. Isn't that nice? And Chris the Gardener's coming on with the bowler-hatted farmer a week after next, but he doesn't know it yet. He does know it. Right, we got here Mayo West. Can't remember what council it was, but there was a retired couple that bought a house near the coast, and the council sent a letter telling them to leave. So 5 single male, I won't say the word, could live there. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise if it's council. Yeah, that's what's happening. Now we got here. Hang on, that's a private chat. Sorry, I'm getting in there. Right, it says the couple called the council, and the lady who answered said that is standard. That's a standard letter that's being sent to new residents. It's an interesting one. It's a new one on me. Yes, that is interesting. Now we got here Hi to John. This is Pandora Chaser 2 and both Chris's.
Hi.
Maya and Louise. Aunt Sally, Paul, and all that. Yeah, that's okay. That's good, isn't it? Now let's have a quick shifty down here. Everybody saying hello to each other. Very polite, aren't they? Evening, Ancient Ruby. Good evening, everyone. Here we go. Now, what's this? Anything that has a hard drive can be infiltrated, switched off, and played about with. We're talking about money. That's right. Yes. And well, I've got these. I use these. What do you call it? Dooflops. Yeah, I'm very technical. You can hear, John. It says a dooflop that you plug into your USB storage. It's one of these storage dooflops, and I've actually had them fail. That's why I always buy SanDisk. They tend to be pretty good. But I bought some sort of cheapo ones, and they were crap. Now let's have a look down here. And who's this geezer? Evening all. Nathan, here we are. We're sending the boys round, Nathan, a little bit, to get you on the show, like,
Where have you been, you git? I've been trying to get hold of you all day.
And they're coming up to his door now. You're wanted on this show.
Right. You'll have about 17 missed calls from me, I think.
Right, now this is a bit of this is Louise. All of Sainsbury's self-service tills went down. The camera's on them too. Oh dear, what a shame. Why do you need cameras to watch my face if it's my hands doing the stealing? That's a good point, that, yeah. Yes. We got that's life, but not as we know it. Evening, gents. Ali Bev. I'm not sure if we said hello to Ralph, but if we haven't, hello, Ralph. Now we got here. Let's go down. Right now, John's journey by train would have taken him 6 months if he was in an electric car.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. Electric car. You think if you're in like California, especially in California, where it very seldom rains, nice and warm, don't need to use your windscreen wipers.
Yeah, that's not true. Where Shannon lives in California, the climate is very, very similar to here. She's had weeks and weeks of torrential bloody rain.
Well, all right, let's say the sunshiny bit, the bit what you see in California.
Say Florida instead.
Florida, all right, Florida. Doesn't rain much. You probably get a bit of mileage out of an electric car there. But in this country, peeing down with rain or snow, freezing cold, heater full blast on. Oh, it's another thing. This bloke who's got this car, his heater's gone kaput. And it's quite common on those cars, apparently. So, excuse my language, he's freezed his arse off for £140,000, poor stuff. Just think about it. He could have bought a cheap old scrapyard car for a couple of hundred. Yeah. Now it says, Hereditous Get Fucked says, I hate people and they hate me. Yeah. Well, that's what my grandfather used to say. Trust no one. He was quite, he was a blind greengrocer. Now we got here. Ali Bev says, I drive buses. Oh, you poor sod. But I never travel as a passenger. That's why. But did you do the specialist training for a bus where you've got to wait until a lady gets on with 2 bags of shopping, drive off, and then put your foot on, do an emergency stop? So she goes, wee, way down the bus. Got to try it, or wait until some poor sod's running like anything to catch the bus, and you just get there and just go, and close the doors.
Or speed off just as they get their hand inside the door.
That's it. Yeah. Right, we got here. Nathan says, I hate phones, mate. I leave the bloody thing upstairs. Been downstairs playing with my daughter. Sorry, dude, speak shortly. Chris, don't send the boys round, send women. Well, that was the surprise. But the only trouble is they're from the Old Age Pensioners Derby and Joan Club. Is that all right? Hello, my young man. Oh, would you like to come on the show? Oh, young man. And we've got Sean Haber. Hi, Chris and John. Right, I think that does
Sean.
chat at the moment. Right, there we go. Now, have you got any conferences and places you're going to be speaking soon?
Next month, I've got a mini tour of the Southwest, or almost the Southwest, Gloucestershire, and Somerset. So yeah, I'm doing a few talks down there. So that should be good. That's I'm doing 2 in Stroud, one in Weston-super-Mare. If anybody lives near there and wants to come along, then email me for details.
Oh, brilliant! Because Weston-super-Mare, I think it's got the longest. The tide goes out the furthest than any other part of England.
Really?
I think. Yeah, I think it's Weston-super-Mare. And John Cleese was born there.
Yeah, he was from there, wasn't he? I went there once, and this is not a joke, by the way. But the beach was just mud. It was just, I mean, there was no sand. It was just mud. It was weird. I don't know whether that's still the case or not. But anyway, I won't be doing much sunbathing, so that's not a problem, really.
No, mind you, if you've been to Southend on Sea, that is the gateway to the exotic East. In Essex, that is all mud. And on the right, I think late spring, early summer, if you have a hot sort of late spring, the smell of the mud is something to be. I would say it's equivalent to the Brussels sprouts, the Brussels sprouts field in Bedfordshire. You know, it's a sort of there's a whiff. You go down there for the sea air, and it's like, oh, bloody hell! You know, it smells like the sewage outpour. You know, but we're going to talk about how do you think, John, we've got to the stage that we have now, where we seem to. I mean, according to Professor Edward Dutton, we reached the height of intelligence in 1870, and we've been declining since then.
Well, I don't know that that's the case, but let's assume that it is. Then I would say the most obvious answer is that we've been dumbed down deliberately, for over a century, and that's very true in every walk of life, especially in education. I mean, I remember seeing a few years ago, I remember somebody sent it me actually, and it was an entrance exam to Cambridge or Oxford, one of the big two anyway. And the questions were just like mind-blowing. And you think, my God, how would some of the millennials of today cope with those? Because, it was a little bit more difficult than what does 2 + 2 equal? I'll tell you that. I can't remember the specifics of the questions because I didn't understand, 90% of it. It just went over my head. It was like a foreign bloody language. And this was just an example of how education standards have been lowered year on year on year on year. And we hear it all the time, don't we? Even the government admits that they're constantly lowering either the pass marks or the difficulty of questions to enable more and more students to get through the exams, which is just balmy. I mean, what is the point of that? Well, actually, I'll answer my own question there. I know what the point of it is. Lowering the standards, that is, not the actual dumbing down aspect of it. But it's because, right, when I was leaving school back in 1836 or whenever it was, only 2% of A-level students went on to university. Now it's something like 50 to 60%. And why are they doing that, John? I'm glad you asked me that question.
Yes, why are they doing that, John?
Yeah, it's because who owns the student accommodation? Okay, I found this out to my cost when my own youngest son was a student in Manchester in about 10, 15 years ago. It's actually all the big banks that own all the student accommodation around, and the fees that they charge are exorbitant. So the more kids they get into university, the more money they're making from the accommodation. I mean, that's only a part of it, okay. But then you've got the university fees, etc., etc. They're also lowering, raising the bar in terms of what qualifications you need for a certain job. I mean, it won't be long before you need a degree in waste management to get a job as a dustbin man. You know, this is a plan. It's an actual plan that they are making money from this strategy. And I know nobody would be surprised by this statement, but it's actually true. I mean, I go into a lot more detail in that one of my books. Can't remember which one now off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it is a deliberate strategy. So, God, I've forgotten what the original question was now. But
well, no, what the original is we our intelligence is getting dumbed down.
Yeah. Sorry, it was a bit of a digression that, but yeah, I mean, they're dumbing us down. There's no question about it. I mean, you only have to look at, teens and 20-somethings. Apologies to any teens and 20-somethings out there. It's not specifically directed at you. I'm generalising, of course. But the general standard of education has become totally piss poor. I mean, there's no other way of describing it. You see, I mean, I occasionally watch TV, not very often, but I sometimes watch quiz programs, and you see younger people on there. Again, it's a generalization, younger. It applies to older people as well, but specifically to younger people. Some of the level of questions that they just haven't got a clue about, it absolutely blows your mind. And you think, what's happened to education? All this stuff was taught to us. They don't learn anything useful at all now. It's all, esoteric nonsense that they're learning these days. It's just, there's nothing solid or concrete unless you're going to specific training for a specific career. I'm talking about general education now. It's just very, very shoddy, very lax. So I'll jump down off my soapbox now.
Well, the thing is that it's all like reacting in straight lines. Now, for example, in the Victorian and Edwardian days, if you wanted to be an engineer, you served an apprenticeship, and you were next to an old boy that knew his stuff. Yeah. And once you served that apprenticeship and can prove you could design things, then you were an engineer. You didn't have to sit qualifications or anything like that. You were an engineer. And when you look at the genius of those years, I mean, I've got this thing about steam engines. I love steam engines, and I've been to these steam engine runners and walked around looking at these absolutely fantastic pieces. To me, they are works of art, engineering works of art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
these people are geniuses that designed these. I mean, they're just amazing,
Well, that's right. I love steam. I think it's fantastic, and each one has its own character. It's something about it, and Fred Dibner, I remember he said that the police stopped him once, and there's a senior police officer there, and he said to this bloke, to this police officer, he said, "Do you want to have a go?" And he said, "You saw this senior police officer become like a little child." Oh, yes, please. I know they're dirty, they give out loads of muck and things like that, but steam cars at one time, and I'm talking about 60s and 70s, were thought of as being the future that would take over from petrol, because the petrol crisis of 1973, there was one before then in 1956, but they weren't really crises, they were manufactured because they could get oil from almost anywhere really. Around the world, they could come from Venezuela or other places, not necessarily the Middle East. Yeah. And you had the oil crisis of 56, and there's the oil crisis that wasn't an oil crisis of 1973, and they were talking about electric steam cars, whereby you have electricity to get the water boiling, and these things would start within about a minute. And they made a breakthrough in America, or a car, you'd get in, you'd sort of turn the ignition, and you'd wait for about 30 seconds to a minute, and boom, off you go. And it went like a rocket. Now, that's all gone. And apart from when you stopped at the traffic lights, you've got all spilled steam coming out the sides. they made racing cars and all kinds of things.
But where's the profits in that, Chris? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How can you make profits out of something that just runs on water? I mean, there was, Stan Mayers, I think we've talked about him on the show before, with the water powered car in the 90s. He was murdered because, because he developed a mode of transport. It could travel coast to coast on 22 gallons of water. It could do 0 to 100 in 8 seconds, and it had a top speed of 100 miles an hour. And it run purely on water, nothing else. And he was murdered. I think I told this story before, but I'll just repeat it for anybody who didn't hear it. And that is that he was looking for commercial investors to develop it, and these guys contacted him. They arranged to meet in this restaurant. He went with his brother, who was his business partner. They sat down for a meal. They poured him some wine out, and he grasped his throat. He ran out into the street, collapsed on the pavement. His brother ran after him, and while he was cradling him in his arms, he died. He'd obviously been poisoned, and the two guys calmly walked out of the restaurant. This was according to the brother. Basically stepped over Stan without looking back and just walked away down the pavement. So, it was obviously something they put in his drink, and he was murdered because it was a warning to anybody else who dare mess with the profitability of oil companies, as it was at that time, but
that's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, when you look at all these different ideas, I mean, I remember years ago, there's Ford said turn the lights out again and back again. There we go. Ford.
Quick, turn them off again.
That's it. Apparently, Ford had this battery years ago that you could do 400 miles, and you just topped it up with a chemical which could be made from the cheapest of materials, and you just poured fuel into this battery, like petrol you would, and it'd go for 400 miles.
Yeah, but that's not good to our controllers, is it? I mean, where's the profitability in that?
Well, that's it. And I mean, what gets me, they talk about, electric cars, they stifled the technology in the Edwardian age. No, it wasn't. They were crap then, and they're still crap, and they will continue to be crap until you can have something that gives you the range. Yeah. And that is the big problem. It was problem.
So the thing is, electric cars, Chris, sorry to interrupt, it's not about they sell it as being to save the planet. But I mean, that's just bullshit. I mean, they're not saving the planet. It's easy to prove that they're far, far less green than petrol engine cars. It's easy to prove that. There's the element of, how, people don't ask themselves, but how is electricity generated? Well, I'm sorry to disillusion everybody, but electricity is actually generated using fossil fuels. QED.
So that's debatable, whether that's fossil fuels or not, because it said that oil... Russia was filled up. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
I'm talking about it from a mainstream point of view. I understand the argument about fossil fuels or not fossil fuels. So I do understand that. But according to them and their definitions, it is generated using fossil fuels, biomass, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's certainly not saving the bloody planet. That's for sure.
We've got 400 years worth of coal underneath us as we're sitting here now. 400 years, probably more, because coal-fired power stations got incredibly clean. Had scrubbers and things like that on them. And look at diesel engines. Diesel engines now are super clean, unbelievable. A bloke next door to me, he drove a taxi, and my car used to get smothered because my drive is next to his drive. Used to get smothered in diesel spots, and it's awful. He then bought a taxi that had a Nissan engine. It was absolutely clean as a whistle, no smoke from it. Unbelievable. I thought it was a petrol engine. It's unusual. And where the old taxis used to go, this thing, you could balance anything on the engine. It was so smooth, beautiful piece of engineering.
Yeah.
And to think,
the thing is though that this electric business, they're just they're promoting electric cars because they want us to believe that there's a real climate crisis, which of course there isn't. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this on YouTube, but bollocks to it.
Be careful.
Yeah, there is there's an agenda at play, and we know what that
There
is.
is. Yeah, I agree with you. Because the thing is, I got a feeling that YouTube might be releasing the censorship a little bit, but I don't want to take chances because they've censored me for the most weirdest things, absolutely weirdest things. So I don't try and take that much chances. But the thing is, I don't believe in the agenda as well. And when you think about it, I think people were much more green in the 60s than they are now. I mean, my mum used to go in the 70s. My mum used to go shopping. Your mum probably went shopping, and she'd open a bag, and a bloke would pour the spuds in a bag, and she'd go to the greengrocers, and the stuff was grown locally. And when I was at school, I had school dinners, and after to clear our plates, we used to put it empty our plates into this big trough, and a farmer used to take it away to feed the pigs. And so everything was kind of recycled in that, but they probably wouldn't do it today. I mean, I don't know. Do they still do that today? Do you know, John? I don't know. I haven't got any children, so I wouldn't know.
But say again, Chris. Sorry, I was just distracted.
Well, when I was a kid, I had school dinners, and when we'd finished our meal, we used to scrape the food into this great big trough, and a farmer used to collect it to take to his pigs.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if that still goes on or not, but it's a great big trough with wheels on it.
Yeah, and, when I was at primary school, our school in the little village where I lived was right next door to a pig farm, and the kids used to clamour to be the ones that would take all the leftovers from the dinners and give it to the pigs. So I used to trot round out the school gates, down the path into the farm, and pour it all out of these big aluminium buckets into a big pig trough, and we used to love doing that, obviously, because we were kids. But they used to do that. But I honestly don't know. Certainly my kids never did it. That's for sure.
Because I think it's Bob Flowerdew that said, he was a gardener that used to be on the BBC, I hadn't seen for years, and he said instead of teaching children sports, or as well as sports, teach them how to garden, how to grow things, because that is, we've lost it, how to grow our own food. I know not everybody can, I mean, we're not all cut out for the same thing, but at least we should have some idea. I mean, for example, as I've said several weeks, I grow my own celery, and the celery that I grow, it's peppery. It's totally unlike what you'd have in the supermarket. It really tastes good. But going back into chat, I said we're going to bring some old ladies round to drag Nathan here. He says there's nothing wrong with an old pearly queen. Hatchy. Now, this is a word of warning from Ancient Ruby. Don't use OVO energy. They will set the bailiffs on you for being overdue 2 weeks and owing under £20. That's interesting.
Oh, excuse me. Well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, I'm bloody angry, excuse my language. I used to be with Lancaster Energy. They went bust and were taken over by Octopus Energy. And I don't like Octopus Energy because they support a certain charity that will remain nameless, but that really matters, if you get what I mean. But I won't say, and they're all onto this climate crap and all that all the time. I'm getting this stuff emailed to me. I don't want to be with them. But
it's not just Octopus. I mean, let's be fair about it, fair and equitable. I don't know. They all sing from the same hymn sheet. I don't know whether I've ever said this on one of your shows, actually, but I did a podcast a few months ago where I talked about this. And has it ever occurred to you or anybody else out there why all these big corporations follow all the specific agendas that we're subjected to? Whether that be the one that you just alluded to, or whether it be anything at all. anything that is agenda driven. Why do all the big noises in the world, or especially specifically this country, as we're talking about this country, why do they follow these agendas to the T? I found out something really interesting. Okay.
Oh.
So again, I'll answer my own questions. Some people out there may already know this, and it's something called investment portfolios. Okay. Now, all the investment portfolios are controlled by a certain element in society, right? Whose vested interest is pushing these numerous agendas that we have thrust in our faces all the time. Now, so the fact that they've controlled them, corporations and any entity whatsoever of any size is threatened that if they don't follow this agenda, if they don't push it into people's faces constantly, then they will simply be removed from investment portfolios. And what would that happen to their stock? It would just go. So it's like sticking their arm up your back, or twisting your arm up your back and saying, this is what you got to do. Otherwise, we'll remove you from these major investment portfolios, which are driven by entities that, we know damn well who they are, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, I've got a feeling though that it's going to reach a point where every dog has its day, and I'm optimistic. And I think what will happen something will happen that is completely unexpected, which won't go the way these manipulators. Because let's face it, the money manipulators or people manipulators, that's how they keep their money. Put yourself in their position. They found out a way. Look at the Rothschilds. They bankrupted this country after the Battle of Waterloo, because what they did, they had one of their men send the results of the battle via pigeon post, by a sort of carrier pigeon. Now, Britain got the information a couple of days later because they relied on a bloke on a horseback to come here. And the Rothschilds got the pigeon, found out that we'd won the Battle of Waterloo, but they owned the press, and they put in the press that we'd lost the Battle of Waterloo. So stock prices went down. So they managed to manipulate stocks and shares of this country. They bankrupted us. And should have been arrested.
Yeah, the stocks went down rapidly, and they'd already sold theirs, and then they bought it all back at a much, much reduced rate.
Now, to get away with that, you've got to manipulate. I don't know whether I think everybody's found this. The more I find out, the more I realise how ignorant I was in the past. And this is what happens all the way through. The more you discover, the more you realise what you don't know. And with the press, you think before the internet, all we had was mainstream. That was it. And there was magazines and things like that, but the information wasn't readily available, as easily available as it is now. And for example, we've all got the finest library in the world, i.e. the internet, because you can look at almost any old book. It sometimes takes a bit of finding, but I know that I think it's Eustace Mullin's Secrets of the Federal Reserve. I think you can actually get that free of charge via PDF on the internet now. And there's a lot of his books, I'm not sure all of them, but a lot of them you can get free of charge. So there's a lot of this stuff that can be, but again, you've got to search. You won't find it on Google. My advice is go onto Yandex. Tap in Yandex. That is a search engine which is Russian, and it's very, very good. And there's lots of things you can, I won't say the word because again, I got banned. I got I got taken down for a short time on Facebook for saying this, and it was just taken out. But REDICE radio station. Now, if you look up REDICE on Google, you won't find it. You put that on Yandex, it's about the first that comes up. So, and I watch that quite a lot actually, but it's a bit much of a muchness now. But a lot of these you won't find. Try and find Richard D. Hall.
Yeah.
Put him on the index, bang, he's up there first of all. For yourself, John, you tap it in, you'll have to go through several pages, put it on your index, you're about the first one there. So that's why I don't bother with Google. It's no old tut, you know. But back into chat, we've got here, it's unbelievable what's happened to our country. Yes, it is. When you think of it, John, if us two were evil and we wanted to destroy...
You mean if?
Well, all right, we are then. We want to destroy the country. We would be looking in envy at the way the country's been destroyed. They've done a bloody fantastic job of it. Far better than any enemy could have dreamt of, haven't they? Really, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the talks I'm giving down in the southwest next month is on something. Actually, I don't think I can say it on YouTube what it's about, but it's about a certain document in the 1890s that is claimed by the men with small hats to be a total forgery, but which is actually the blueprint for the 20th and 21st centuries. Now, I don't know if you know which document I'm talking about.
Yes, it starts with P, and it's also got the word Z, that begins with the word with Z, doesn't it?
And that's the one, yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
And basically, what's happening in society today is exactly what was predicted. Well, it wasn't a prediction. I mean, it was actually telling the truth about what the plans were for the 20th and 21st centuries. It's exactly that, and I'd urge anybody who deciphered our little bit of code there to actually look those up and read them. And you might take a bit of digging, but you might be able to find them. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, what is interested, then by all means email me or Chris even, because I'm sure Chris.
Yeah. I'll say. No, also, what you could do is buy Telegram. Send it via Telegram, and I'll answer it.
Yeah,
because you want to know,
it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
Well, was it 1907 was it Zurich in Switzerland? I think it was Zurich, wasn't it? Or
it was actually written in the 1890s, but it came to light in the early 20th century. Yeah.
It's a forgery because there must have been an original if that was a forgery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if they are, they claim to be a forgery by, of course, people who want to deceive us anyway. They don't want us to know that this is the case. But I'll tell you what, whether or not they're a forgery, it barely matters, because I don't think they are. Let me say that. But it doesn't matter, because whatever it is, they are an absolute dead ringer for exactly what's going on in society today, and it's been going on all through the last 100 years or more.
That's right. And also, if you look at Yuri Bezmenov, and I sort of say quite a bit about him, but he actually did a series of lectures in the early 80s. And he said, education, don't teach the children anything of any substance, of any, teach them about food.
Well, this is exactly what I was saying before, isn't it? So, yeah, exactly that.
Nothing of any use. And I'll tell you what gets me about education. The amount of girls that are going to university to learn, or uni, as they say, uni, to learn economics. What is it about economics that attracts women to want to go and study? And was it business studies? What are business studies? Because this country is full of it's middle management and top managers. Service industries. That's all it is. Yes.
Useless service industry.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you can do degrees in bloody ridiculous things now. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I've heard of some corkers, cookery, and sports.
Yeah.
You can do degrees in football. You can do degrees in baseball. I mean, the whole thing is just madness now. I mean, that's not.
I might get a degree in fart jokes. That'd be an idea, wouldn't it? I could go and get a degree in fart.
I suspected you already had one, actually.
I think you've had wind of that, haven't you? And
Yeah.
but really, where's it getting us? Because it's not practical. Nothing is really practical now, because we lived in a practical world. Even basic things. You get into a car that's over 40 years of age, and you wanted to open the window. You went like some maniacal. You opened the window by turning a handle. Now you just press a button.
Yeah.
Now, if that electrics goes wrong, or on a hot day you don't want to switch your ignition on, with my car you have to switch the whole engine on before you can open the bloody window, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't have a manual override. You just sort of go wind it. But again, exactly. That costs money. And all these things. And they said that about 10 years ago that China is going to send us cars that are simple to maintain that a DIY person could do. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the evidence of it. You know, where is it? Because I know that in Africa they send, I think big manufacturers send cars to Africa that can be maintained by an individual, and the technical cars are sent here. Because if you go to Africa, again, someone from South Africa or Africa might be able to back me up on this, but I was told that you'll still find cars with carburetors that you can adjust in Africa, whereas over here it's all electronic ignitions and that type of thing. So, you know, I mean, I used to have to change the points on my car. Don't do that; it's electronic now. And always, I mean, my first car, which was Morris 1000, had drum brakes all the way around, so you had to keep adjusting the brakes all the way around. And you became very religious when you drove that car, because you'd put your foot on the brake. It's like putting your foot on a brick, and you go, Jesus! Oh! And you just hope you're going to bloody stop in time. But really, I think that cars have improved. I think they improved in the 80s. Got a car from the 80s and 90s, hang on to it. But after that, they just went downhill. And I'm noticing cars now. I mean, I'll often look at these YouTube videos of people that's converted a van and tour around in these vans, and the trouble they have with them. It's things that are unheard of. I won't say what manufacturer, but well, okay, I will. Mercedes. They seem to be notorious for rust crates. You know, the amount of people say, well, I'm afraid it's failed the MOT as rust. That's something that was resolved 30, 40 years ago. I mean, cars from the 60s and 70s, there's not many around because they rusted away. But in the 80s, they found out how to rust-proof them. Well, I've always known how to rust-proof them. But things are now going backwards in time. I've noticed it really is bad. But going back to chat again, well, Bev said, follow the money, which is true. You've got more chance of a child being taught how to change their gender. Oh, this is a good one from Louise Wilcox. Than to have them being taught their times tables and the indoctrination centres. Yes, that's right. Being taught their times tables in the indoctrination centres. Yes. And another one from Louise is the mining of minerals for these batteries is ridiculous. This is with electric cars, and certainly not eco-friendly or cost-effective by any means. Yes, I agree with you. They, well, Ancient Ruby is saying, correct, John, that's it. They promote what suits their agenda. So one way to win is to ignore all that they push. Yes, I agree. Well, a perfect example was steam trains. Now, steam trains got to a peak in the early 50s, where the engineering was absolutely spot on. What did they do? They went over to diesel.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure that was the best idea. The Foden's steam lorry was one of the last steam lorries, and in the 30s, the government changed the tax, so they literally wrote them off the road.
Yeah.
So all this steam technology, which they couldn't even match today, I don't think, that all went by the wayside. You know,
it's all about profitability. They're not interested in. They're not interested in the planet. They're not interested in, you know, technology as such, other than to make profits from it. That's all. It's just purely profit. That's all they're interested in. Everything else you can just go by the wayside.
Well, you're spot on. And there's an interesting one here from Herodotus Skepfoot. The charging points are for when the toys take over. Now, that's a bloody good one, isn't it? The robots, they can go and get charged, can't they?
Yeah.
Yes. And Ali Bev says, Louise, and they use slave labour.
Yeah,
and Louise has said, the veil is thinning. We are winning. Yes, I think we are. And as I've said loads of times, something will happen that we least expect.
Yeah.
Pretty divine intervention, I don't know. And we've got here, Chris DeGuy, good man, Chris. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Always good to hear you promoting the growing of one's own food. There's a man who knows his stuff about growing food. Gave me a very, very useful advice. Slugs don't like straw. So I went out to buy some straw and came home with some bloody hay because I didn't look at the packaging very well. Oops. But apparently they don't like straw because there's something about it they don't like. So you've got a slug problem? Because I could be a slug farmer. Got so many. My garden is a slug's knocking. Well, it's a snail's knocking shop. It really is.
Well, you'd be great, Chris, when they stop all food production in this country, which is another agenda that they're moving towards. Yeah. Just think of all the ready-made food you'll have with all those slugs.
Well, just think about it. French. I could open a French restaurant. Oh, have some snails. Not
You'd have to get a load of empty snail shells and stuff them in there, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So, I've not paid Ovo a bean in over 8 years. Really? Oh, that's interesting. That's Pandora Chaser too. You might have paid the money, but you didn't pay him a bean. The false Sean Amos says the false pushback is part of the agenda. Don't allow yourself to be infected with the new age mind virus. That is an interesting one because spiritual awakening was started in when was it now? The 1920s, after the First World War. They started this idea that there's going to be a spiritual awakening that's going to make everything right. And of course, it didn't happen. And that was copied with the hippie movement by, in the 1960s. Louis Wilcox says, a lot of people have been having trouble with Ovo and other companies. What the name Ovo? It sounds like an embarrassing problem that women get, doesn't it? How's your Ovo, dear? Oh, I don't know. I've had trouble with it. All these energy companies.
What is it, Ovo? An energy company, is it? Yeah, right.
Well, it's either that or it's a gynecological problem.
Yeah.
I've been to a gynecologist. Actually,
or is it a gravy cube, an Ovo?
Oh, well, I think my gynecologist is ripping me off. Do you think so? All these energy companies have shareholders in high places. That's right. Yes. Hey, it's Robert. Hello, mate. Thanks for the emails. Sorry I haven't answered you, but because I haven't answered them yet because I'm an ignorant git. No, I'll answer them. Good evening, one and all. It's really nice to see the mighty Hamer on the show again. That's Robert Dorr.
Thank you, sir.
A very hard working.
Checks in the post.
Yes, he works very, very hard. Works all hours you could think of. And we've got here, until firms are all committing, utility firms are all committing double fraud as metering agents, credit brokers, they supply nothing. Spot on. I mean, there's a lot of people that are having their meters, electric meters, taken out professionally and having their own ones put in and then getting it off. Or I think there's something happening with the National Grid, because I know that when the National Grid was started in the 20s or 30s, the power was, well, I wouldn't say it's free, but you didn't have to pay for it. It just came through and it was come from your taxes, power. And then they started metering it. But that's only much later. And we've got here, good to see John Amer. That's Kaz Bar. Do you know Kaz Bar?
Thank you, Kaz Bar.
And we've got here, Robert Dawes says, lockstep was a reality long before the recent nonsense. Louise makes a good point about valve thinning. You're right there, Robert. Yeah, that was a good point. Yes. You can only hide a lie for so long. The truth always finds a way through. And we got here, Ancient Ruby, I have never been in debt, but they constantly, every month, overcharge me, but falsely claiming reading me estimated billing that rises every month. Yet I send actual readings, but they add estimated. That's an interesting point. Yes. That's very interesting. There's always, let's face it, Ancient Ruby, it's always incorrect in their favour, never yours, is it? You notice that? When things go wrong, it's always in their favour.
Yeah, shocking it.
What a surprise. If the corporation doesn't do as they are told, they lose their business basically. There are far too many who have been controlled who are now turning. It's interesting. And the Red Shield crew. Oh, brilliant, Robert. Didn't bankrupt this country. They bought it for a song, or they bought for a song. That I like that. The Red Shield crew. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. That yes, that's right. Yes. Thanks, Robert. But Ranger Ruby says,
what does he mean?
I wonder.
Don't answer that. Sorry.
Ombudsman not doing enough to stop them. I was SSE and sent to OVO without permission from me. All a scam. Yeah. My one went bust, and suddenly Octopus took my one over, and I was a bit rat arse about that as well. You know, excuse my language. And Pandora Chaser 2 says they are not even bills that meet the Bill of Exchange Act. Good point. They are statements and already prepaid at year start in taxes loans by government to purchase from real suppliers until firms are double dipping. Yes, you're right. I mean, I remember the time, I don't know if you remember this, John, that electricity was so cheap, people just left things on. My parents had a Sadia heater, and they just used to leave it on because electricity bill was pennies, absolutely dirt.
I don't know whether it was true or not, but my dad used to say it's cheaper to leave the lights on, lad, than keep switching them on and off.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what he used to say.
Well, I don't know. The answer to that, I really don't know. It's got a good point. Yeah. But what I like is they showed you on the telly, when I last saw the telly, some chef saying how to save money, and he showed how to make this cheap shitty meal. And he gets this thing about that big and shoves it in his big oven. No, you do all your cooking for a week in the oven. My mother had the whole oven filled with cakes being cooked, joints being cooked. You had to get stuff in with a bloody shoe on to get anything in there because it saves money, you know. A full oven is, and we got here, Ancient, have a look at the date they do their estimation every month. Give them your reading in that date. If you're having problems, darling, contact Citizens Advice. Yes, and did you know that Citizens Advice, where I live, is a private company? I didn't know they could be. I thought they were a charity, but they are a private company.
Well, you need to speak to Nathan about Citizens Advice. He used to work as a volunteer for quite a few years, and he knows everything about them, basically. Ooh. You know what they used to get up to and that. So that might be an interesting show. Not for YouTube probably, but
that will be interesting. And of course, we've got Casbar says I use Yandex all the time. No, I use the soft toilet paper. Actually, it's much better. No, Yandex is good. I'm on Yandex all the time as well. I don't bother much with Google. I think it's absolute. You can't find anything on there unless it's establishment. And Krista Gardner says, I remember when they privatised the energy companies, cheaper bills for all they told us back then. Yes, I remember that, and it isn't. But what gets on my nerves now is delegation management. Have you come up against that, John? where you contact the head honcho and it's all delegated. They just don't. They must sit down about half an hour every morning, just say, right, do that, and go home. Because it's rumoured that the chief executive of my local council, now I don't know how true this is, I won't mention any names, only works 3 days a week. So if anybody knows the truth in that, I'd like to find out. I'm actually thinking of putting a request in to find out how many hours this bozo does work, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, don't put your faith in freedom of information. It's all bollocks. It's just a ruse. They don't tell you the truth, so it's pointless. It's just
well, you get fobbed off. I mean, my local council, the head honcho sent to me that the Health and Safety Act 1974 does not apply in an area. Hello, someone's turned the light off in John's place. Doesn't apply in an area as a common area where people can go. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Oh,
yeah.
Now we've got here DJ.
Karen's just come in. Sorry.
Hello, Karen. She turned the light out, did she? The trouble is, companies are incentivized to follow the green agenda, and while a lot of business owners are greedy, it will go on. Yes. And don't forget to twat the like buttons, chaps. Thanks, Chris. Yes, please do the like button. Because you know that I am actually shadow banned. And did you know that? Because you look at the when you look after this show, the viewing figures go up and down like a tart's jaws. There's a stranger wandered in. Do you reckon we would let him in? What do you think?
Oh, him. Yeah.
Oh, him. Hello, mate.
Bollocks. I heard that.
God,
hello.
God of offending people.
Hello.
John was that you used to work for used to do dealings with the Citizens Advice.
Yeah.
Obviously not for YouTube, because it might set the klaxons off at YouTube HQ. So we could do a show about that.
Well, first of all, can you hear me all right? Because the mic's a bit far away.
Unfortunately,
no.
yes.
Oh, thanks, John. Yeah, it's good to hear you too. Right, I'm putting my phone on silent permanently now, John. CAB. I don't know whether John mentioned I rejoined them lately and then quit again shortly afterwards.
No, I didn't. No.
Really?
I'm absolutely disgusted with them, actually. I don't know whether I should really be going into that, but I wasn't too impressed by what I went back to. Not the place that I left, and when I left, it had problems. But going back, it's once again it's hit by the equity and diversity bollocks bug, and there's only so much
pronouns. He, she, it, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Let's just say I'm not playing ball, but that's not even the reason I left. I don't like the way that the let's say acting supervisor was treating staff, and I certainly didn't like the way she was treating the customers. And I've had a lot of complaints from other people that I speak to. Why don't you stop laughing, you, John? This
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Karen, actually.
Lies. It's all lies, John.
She just came in. She realised she's left her phone. So anyway, sorry.
I think I left my phone at yours, actually.
Hey?
I think I left my phone at yours last time.
Oh, did you? Right, okay.
Yeah, that's why I never answer it.
Oh, right. I wondered what that one we sold on eBay was.
You wouldn't get much for it, about 20 pence, I think.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good evening, gentlemen, and hello to everyone in the chat. So there we go.
Just to let you know, I've got to go in maybe 10 minutes or so. So
no problems.
I went before the program started, so I'm all right there.
Yeah,
I've been gone for a while, actually.
It's like Red Carno circuses, isn't it? Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the orchestra, isn't it? Black goes into the orchestra. He said, "Where's the harpist?" He said, "Well, I piss over there." Sorry.
It's terrible.
I know.
Up to your usual standards there, mate.
Right, so we're talking about the pronouns. You mustn't use Mr., Mrs., or anything like that. Is he, shit, she, shit, or whatever it
No,
is.
you got it right. No, she or shit. That's probably accurate these days. Generation.
What you do with a bloke sitting in front of you with a full beard and that, dressed in a woman's skirt? How do you not break into laughter?
We've got some interesting characters like that around Middlesbrough, but again, I won't say too much because I don't want the gods of YouTube censorship to come down on you. Yeah. But yeah, there's some interesting characters walking around town.
What have you got as your name there? Nathan Von Possibly. I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
I can barely read
it. Well, I saw Eric's name, Nathan Von Probably, and I thought, yeah, we'll go for that. But John, you need to change it to John Von Hamer.
Yeah,
that sounds like a catalogue, doesn't it? Really?
Hey?
Sounds like a catalogue.
Yeah. After the presentations I'm doing down south next month that you've just kindly been doing the posters for, I might have to change my name to John Von Hamer.
Yeah, I usually put my name on the posters, and I'm thinking, oh, do you know what? I'm going to be I'm going to just nod for this one. It's a bit on the nose, that one.
Yeah, I'm talking about I'm talking about. I've already said one of the things I'm talking about, but one of the other talks is about Mr. H.
I could put the graphics up if you like, but I don't know if that would have a detrimental effect. So I don't think
Mr. Healy you're talking about.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Dennis Healy. Yeah.
But man, sort of, it's about that
That'll
height.
Be the one.
It's over there, doesn't it? Yeah, but I better not even do that on the show. I'll probably get arrested for something. It's surprising what you can get done for now. What about that bloke who's in jail for making stickers? And
the White Rose guy.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. I may or may not have distributed a few of them myself. So, I said may or may not have. I mean,
I think you may not have. No. You did your citizen duty and you put them straight in the bin, didn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I took a look at them and thought, no, I couldn't possibly. Couldn't possibly. Right, but it is a bit ridiculous, though. He's gone to jail for that. I mean, wow. What was his charge?
I don't know too much about it, but I think we're moving into areas where we need to do it on the naughty show.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to John. Was it off air? But between us three here, nobody else. So just us three, all right?
Well, nobody else is listening, Chris. You'll be okay.
No, nobody else is listening, so we're all right here. I'm hoping to start a radio station soon and broadcast it on Rumble. So we can say tip bum and things like that without the censors sending off the klaxons in YouTube. So it'd be all right there, where we can talk about naughty things.
You get me all excited now. What kind of naughty things are we talking?
Mr. H and what really going on with the money and things like that, you see. And but again, you've still got to be careful on there as well. But back in chat, we got here Pandora Chaser 2. Chris, yes, when they sold off the national grid, etc., it was treason by Thatcher, with no referendum on such. And yes, a long con to today's scammers of fake bills and huge profits. And of course, in 1973, when we went into the common market, all councils were made private. And you can look up their reference numbers on Dun & Bradstreet.
See, when we elect these gits, well, I don't because I don't vote. Because the problem is, if you vote, the government always gets in.
Yeah.
But the problem is we don't elect these gits to do whatever the hell they want. They have no accountability once they get into power at all. That's democracy, of course. It's best system the money can buy, obviously.
Well, I think I agree with what Paul English said. Mob rule. That's what democracy is. It's mob rule, because there's no democracy around where I live. Local council is not democratic at all. And what gets me is how naive. I'm not talking about the council workers who are very, very nice people. I'm talking about the high ups. They're a different league. they are so naive. I can't believe how naive these people are. But they know how to feather their own nest. That's the thing. Look at these politicians. They know how to feather their own nests. You know, they're clever at that. But
most of them are going bankrupt at the minute, aren't they? I wonder what could possibly be the reason behind that, John.
Well, allegedly, there's a council that could be where I live, but it might not be. You don't know. I better be careful what I say. That sold off all the profitable bits of the council, and it's just left with the crappy bits that are not profitable, and they're due to go bankrupt within the next couple of years, allegedly. So I've heard. But because building services, that's all been sold off now. So if you want to put in for planning permission to extend your house or something like that, you have to put it into a private company. You don't put it into the local council anymore. And that's happened throughout the country. That was a bit quiet, wasn't it, the way they did that? So I want a rebate on the old council stuff. Why should we pay?
Good luck with that, mate. Good luck with that. If you have any joy, let us know how you did it, because I think we'll all want to go at that.
Well, actually, I think
just one thing while we're on about councils. I don't know whether this is true, or I've just seen one article about it today about Oxford Council. So we know about the 15-minute cities being rolled out. I've come across an article today that says Oxford Council is now going to start trialling climate lockdowns this year. Like we never knew that was on the cards or anything, right? But apparently that's coming, and all I can say to that is, well, we told you. They didn't listen. They didn't do anything about it. I mean, I was there during a leafleting campaign and a protest, but apart from that, what are the people doing? Because it's been rolled out all across the UK, and if it's going to happen there, it's going to happen everywhere.
Well, they're changing the roads around where I live to 20-mile-an-hour zones.
Yeah, that's on that here as well. Mostly,
and that is painful, absolutely painful driving along in a 20-mile-an-hour zone.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the thing is, the 30-mile-an-hour limit was set when cars. You mentioned it before, Chris, about the brakes on cars were just horrendous, weren't they? I mean, you needed like 100 yards to stop at 20 mile an hour. But now, the technology in cars, you don't need to. I mean, 30 miles an hour is, I believe, it's too slow. And you get all this propaganda about, if you hit a child at 30 miles an hour, it's got, twice the chance of surviving than if you hit 35 miles an hour, or whatever the figures are. Don't quote me on those. I've just made that up, but that's the kind of analogy they use. But you can easily stop a car in very, very short space of time doing 30 miles an hour with modern brakes.
And so also,
this safety business they're just going over the top with it as a way of controlling this, basically.
You're spot on.
It's all about control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, as a motorist and a cyclist, it's a lot safer in a 30, even 40-mile-an-hour zone on a bike, because a car can safely get past you. That's it. And I've found that about 98% of motorists are fine. And I cycle sort of for pleasure, so I get out of motorists' way, especially some poor sods trying to do deliveries and things like that. But the thing is that a 20-mile-an-hour zone, they can't get past you at 20 miles an hour. So you're holding the car back to doing 15, 10 maybe on these old boys on push bikes and things. And it's going to call. Well, I don't know what's happening in Wales, but apparently, motorists are getting frustrated because they just can't pass cyclists. Yeah. And it's horrendous. Because you get these old boys cycling along. I mean,
and once people start getting frustrated behind the wheel, that's when accidents happen.
Correct.
You know yourself, if you're doing like 22 miles an hour behind somebody in a 40 zone, you're looking for opportunities to get past them, aren't you? Because you think,
that's it.
And it doesn't me, but because I don't take risks, but it does induce some people to take unnecessary, ridiculous risks.
Well, it does, because it gets very, very frustrating. Cars and bicycles do not mix, and I don't believe in narrowing the roads. I think that's ridiculous.
They're narrow enough as it is. I mean, bloody hell.
Frustration. When you look, there's loads of pavements around where I live where it will be very safe to have pedestrians and cyclists. So you need a little white line going along the pavement. The pavement's wide enough, fine. both are there very, very safe. Cars are then on their road, cyclists are on the pavement with pedestrians. And quite honestly, you know, there's a lot of wide pavements where I live. It's quite safe. Why they can't do that, I just do not know. They do in some areas, but it's a bit of a hodgepodge all the time. Yeah. But no, but back into chat, we've got here.
Guys, I'm going to take the opportunity to depart now. I have to go. I've got an important call to make. So,
okay. Oh, don't tell me, bloody Joe Biden asking advice again, is it?
It is. Yeah, I'm sick of him. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
I'll get Trump on the phone.
Yeah. Then after that, I've got, you know, what's his name? I've forgotten his bloody name now. Prime Minister is such a memorable guy. Asking me for economic advice.
Sunak.
Yeah, that's him. That's the fella. Yeah.
No, it's Roland Rat these days.
He wanted a bit of economic advice. I said, "Oh, bloody hell, is she? You know, can't you just do something for yourself instead of relying on me all the time? You know." But anyway, I promised him a call, so I thought about it.
John, you do realise that you've just admitted to giving the Prime Minister bad advice, because if he's taking your advice, I mean, it's obviously your advice that's terrible.
Well, yeah, I'm doing it on purpose, mate. You know, don't you see my master plan?
Good advice to fix the country.
Yeah, I'm doing it so that everybody gets peed off with him and gets shut of him, only to be replaced by someone equally bad or worse. I'm sad to say, but I'm just going to take the chance on this particular occasion.
Well, it's like when Biden met Sunak. I think he said, "Table for 3 and go easy on the papadoms."
Yeah. Right, that's it, mate.
Okay, see you, John.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for coming on.
John.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hang on, he hasn't found he had a do flop button here. Here we go. Hey, here we go. Oh, it's good, and it's good to have John back on the show again. But as I say, don't mention anything about this planned radio show in case it doesn't happen. So it's only us two now that know about it, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
And nobody in chat would know a thing about it, would they? No. Now we've got here Chris the Gardener. Thatcher the Milk Snatcher sold everything she could. I'm amazed they didn't try and sell number 10 to a property management company and then rent it back from them like they did with social housing. Well, do you remember the White Cliffs of Dover were going to be sold off, I think, to the French, wasn't it? I think Vera Lynn or Dame Vera Lynn.
It has been, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of people coming across those particular parts.
Well, that's it. Oh, it's incredible. Now, this is true what Ancient Rumour says. The trick is to wear you down so you give up fighting for the right of not being overcharged. Bloody monsters. Well, when you look at it, Nathan, can you tell the difference? What is the difference between the mafia and, say, local councils? What is the difference? They both operate a scam. And if you don't pay the mafia, they'll hurt you physically. And if you don't pay the council, they'll hurt you mentally. What's the difference?
And economically.
And economically.
Yeah.
So
I would say that at least you can pay for protection from the mafia.
Yes.
Whereas the police force is absolutely bloody redundant and only protects the criminals. So I would say at this point in time, the mafia is preferable.
Well, they operate. Well, when you look at it, I mean, there's a South American country. I saw a documentary years ago. The mafia operate a lottery system, and it's absolutely scrupulously fair, totally fair. It's run by the mafia, absolutely on the bottom, on the ball, and when someone wins, they get the money within sort of minutes. That's it, bang, you know. Wow. And it's, I mean, that's how the mafia actually came about, because the police didn't do their job, wasn't it? Did you see the
nothing new under the sun then?
Do you remember the beginning of The Godfather when he told what's his name, when he's cotton wool in his feet like this, you know? I know you're a reasonable man, you know. There's that bloke saying that his daughter got raped, and he starts to sob, and the Godfather clicks his fingers, and suddenly it's a glass of water comes from nowhere and a handkerchief from nowhere. There's all these heavy blokes standing around.
So what you're saying there, Eric, is the mafia are also more caring than the local councils too?
Probably.
because that's the way it sounds to me. But yeah, I enjoyed that film. The first one was good. The second one, third one were just weird.
The same. I'm the same. But this is what I said about earlier. This was a scene outside a lady in Kent who's got stage 4, something nasty beginning with C, which I'm not allowed the word. If I mention it on YouTube, it sets the klaxons off. And what happened is they called an ambulance because there it is. There's an ambulance outside our house. And apparently, when the ambulance people went in there, the bailiffs barged in with them.
Why?
And because they wanted to get into the house, and that was an excuse to get them into the house. And once they got into the house, well, to sort of repeat what I was saying earlier, the poor lady was being seen to was scantily dressed, and the bailiffs were trying to get into her bedroom as the paramedics were seeing to her. And she was thrown out with her husband onto the street, and she was shivering cold at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, these people here, they should be, well, to me, that is, what's the difference between them and the mafia? Mafia wouldn't do that. I don't think they'll throw someone out, But
why so many of them as well? I mean, don't get me wrong, the policemen seem to be getting better looking these days, but ponytails. But apart from that, why is there so many of them?
Well, I mean, what happened with this story? I'm being very economical what I say, because there's a mate of mine in Kent that phoned up and told me about it. I know the people who are involved. I haven't spoken to him for a long time, and he wasn't there. So I had to get the information that he has found out from Kent Resistance Movement and from what was written in the local papers, which might not be true. So that's why I haven't said very much. That's right. Would they make up a story? And the Daily Mail, would they make up a story? But so that's why I haven't said very much. But apparently I found out from my mate in Kent that the Kent Resistance have got this poor lady and her husband, who's seriously ill, back into their house. And it's because she didn't pay her council tax. And she knows a lot about law. But because she's so ill, she could not, I assume, and I'm assuming now, she couldn't go about it as she would normally go about it. So those bastards, and she owns her own home. Both of them own their own home.
By what right do they have to come and kick her out of it? I mean, I see. This is the problem that we've talked about in previous episodes, or that it's all right saying all this common law lawfulness, and it's all well and good saying that, but I've not known anybody to actually succeed with it, and this is yet another example of it going bad. And
yes,
this is why I would seriously advise people to, if you're going to do it as a mass movement, do it as a class action, organized, focused movement that's going to stick to the guns and back each other up. Because if you're going to take them on independently, you're going to lose. And this is the kind of story that's going to unfold, and this is why I can't back it anymore.
Because I actually think that we need our own police force, or peaceful, like that. So you've got, say, 20 bailiffs and police there. There'll be 40, double the amount of our police force saying, what you do here? Come on, please leave here, and telling them the law. Because an average constable on the street doesn't know the law. They know very, very little about the law. It's quite surprising.
That doesn't surprise me, but then if you look at the scope of it these days, I mean, there's that many laws, bylaws, different types. I mean, as a policeman on the street, you're going to be given basic training, and told that the courts will take care of the rest. It's just kind of go and tell these off, make sure they stay in line. I mean, they're effectively system. Well, they're the system smiths, aren't they? They're agents.
Well, that's right. I mean, there was a neighbour. He's moved away now. There was a copper lived opposite me. He's moved, and he didn't know the difference between common law and statute law. Statutes didn't know the difference.
Yeah,
he didn't even know what common law was. Injury, loss, or harm, which I'm very much in favour of, because you mustn't injure, cause loss, or harm anybody. It's very simple. And it mustn't cause injury, loss, or harm. That is something we should learn at school, but we don't.
Well, it's the basic of the basics, isn't it? I mean, if you stuck to those three things, you wouldn't need any laws, bylaws, statute laws, civil law. You wouldn't need any of those things. It's do as thou wilt, but harm none.
Well, this is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut over.
No, carry on, mate. It's simple.
Sean Heyman says it's the British monarchy common law system, which means it's contractual law, not law or law at all. That's interesting.
It goes back down the merchant law route, doesn't it? But
yes,
as much as let's define the difference between lawfulness and legality. The legal system doesn't necessarily represent the lawful system or God's law, natural law, or anything like that. It's completely different. But I think the analogy I used last time is if you're playing their game on their rules, you're on their chessboard. I mean, you've got to be clever about it, because they've got all the good pieces left, and all you've got is a couple of pawns left. And if you're lucky, you might manage to get across the board. But I don't know. I can't in good conscience tell people to follow the common law movement anymore. It's just not focused enough. It's not big enough. And it's almost like saying it's one law for us and another for them. If that makes sense. And again, it's not that I don't agree with common law. I absolutely agree with common law. But in the last 4 years, especially, I've seen more people get into trouble over this. People I know personally as well. A lot of trouble. Myself, I got into a lot of trouble with energy companies refusing to pay because apparently my name's the occupier, and so I went down that whole route, and I played the game for a good hour and a half, a year and a half before thinking, oh, I'm not going to win this. This is getting risky now. When they get the solicitors involved, it tends to get people's backs up a little bit and make them rethink the situation. And
the only thing that I wouldn't pay is if I went into a private car park and overstayed my welcome for about a minute or two. I wouldn't pay that, because they've got to prove who had actually broken the contract, and I'd want to, I would probably send to them and say, could you show me the contract? Where's the contract? In wet ink.
Yeah. Well, here's another bone of contention for any. Again, look, I absolutely agree with the common law movement and principle. So here's another one for you in terms of contract law. So whenever you buy goods and services, you get the agreement usually after you've bought the product. So I'll give you an idea. Right. Okay. So let's take a digital product. Let's take I don't know, Microsoft Office or any kind of software. You buy that first, and then before you can use it, you install it. And then they say, oh, but now you must agree to our terms and conditions, of which is about 10,000 pages of small print telling you lots of stuff in legalese that most people they won't understand. A lot of people will just cut off. Well, to me, how is that fair? So under common law, natural law, you've got to be fully informed and give your consent freely, right? So fully informed, freely given consent. Well, if you have to sign the agreement after you've bought the product or the service, then that's coercion. They're coercing you into using that product or service that you've already bought by this point. So surely the terms and conditions should be done prior to buying something. But if that was the case, nobody would ever buy the products under those terms and conditions, because people would wise up and say, well, I'm not agreeing to that. But it's gone so far, it's so far gone now that to take that on as individuals, you haven't got a cat and mouse chance. It's to say, I mean, it's so big. And I keep saying to people, the truth movement's finished. It's gone. I don't think it really started. And I say that, and I'm not saying it out of spite or hate or anything like that. All I'm simply saying is, for a movement to be a movement, it's got to be going somewhere. Well, unless backwards counts, in which case we're going backwards. Because until we organize as one collective group of people, put all of our differences aside, all of our petty little bits of knowledge and expertise aside, and just say, right, what are we willing to put up with? What are we not willing to put up with? And until that's done, I'm afraid we ain't winning nothing. We ain't going anywhere. We ain't achieving nothing. And so we need, I think, a little bit of tough love now. We've had the Love and Light Brigade. That's failed. We've had the the new age movement, that's failed. We've had the common law movement, which again, that's failed. Show me the good. Show me the outcomes. Nobody can do that at the minute. But anyway, there we go.
So spot on. I'm putting these comments up as you're speaking because I think it's because Rob has said spot on exactly, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
But and also you don't have the opportunity to cancel in cooling off period.
Yeah.
Now going back.
That's just insulting people's intelligence, that though, isn't it? The cooling off period. It's like saying, well, we know you're not really going to, return the goods or services. You're going to go along with it anyway. But we'll put it there to make it sound good and coax you in. And again, it's more coercion, it's more deception, it's more disingenuous business tactics and legalese. And my God, absolutely, this needs pulling apart. The whole system needs taken down. It's corrupt to the core.
Spot on. When Krista Garner says, couldn't agree more, Nathan.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. All right, buddy.
And Chris, and he says, Sean Hamer says, none of the people selling common law remedy know what capitis dominito minima is. I had some with some eggs the other night, didn't I? So that means they can't read legal terms, literally. So they cannot be trusted because their knowledge is flawed. Well, legalese is a language all of its own. I mean, I've tried reading it and I just gave up. I mean, it's I think that AI says it legal. Sean Hamer says legal and lawful both being contractual in legalese. I mean, do you remember Bill Clinton when he said, "I did not have sex with that woman,"
and then he totally believed him.
It means what I is, and I think he meant I, meaning my birth certificate. So his birth certificate did not have sex with that woman. Correct, it didn't. He did, but his birth certificate didn't.
I think you give him too much credit. I would just say that he's like most politicians and business people and bankers out there. He's a liar, and he's in it for profit or personal gain, or for the higher levels. He's in it for control.
Well, that's it. And they can slide out of anything. I mean, as I said earlier, my local council has told me that in a common place where people can go, that the Health and Safety Act doesn't apply. Now, that nonsense is absolute nonsense. So I am going back. Sorry?
How do they work that one out?
I don't know. It defies, because the head honcho who sent me that, I don't think he knows how to read drawings, because I sent him the drawings and he didn't. So I've now got them over a barrel, but I won't. They'll slide out of it. They just slide straight out of it all the time. They're slippery, isn't it? They're like eels. They'll slip out of anything. Unbelievable.
Well, just going back to something that Sean Hamer said there about people being not fully informed. I mean, look, lawyers and solicitors and barristers, they all spend years on this stuff and they still don't know it all. They've still got to refer back to the original sources. So how the hell are the common folk who are given a little bit of information off YouTube and a little bit from Facebook groups and whatever else they use? We don't know what they know. We're not fully informed. We're going in unarmed. We're going into a battlefield unarmed, unarmored, and absolutely clueless as to the tactics being used. As a species, we are so much shit.
I went into court and I told him this and I did that and this and that. Well, as you just said perfectly, it's a bit like being a person that goes into the army and not told how to use weapons, nothing about soldering, and then shoved straight on the battlefield and then thrown a gun. I'll have a go with that.
Yeah.
Probably shoot yourself in the foot, I mean,
don't aim it at yourself. But apart from that, just have a go at it and see
just aim in that direction and you'll be all right. I wouldn't dodge when, you might get some bullets. It's like Peter Ustinov said that he was on board a ship during an invasion, and one of the junior officers ran down to the captain, who was an old boy, who'd been to sea for years, past retirement, says, Sir, the enemy are firing at us. He said, don't worry, they're supposed to do that. That lovely answer. Very calm and collected. Yes, they're supposed to do that.
It's nice and calm and collected from the commander, eh? As always.
That's right.
Leading from the back, as you would.
But the thing is that, you know, why aren't we taught legalese at school? Why? Because they want to hoodwink you. And to me, looking at it from a common sense point of view, council tax to me is criminal. It really is. But I really do believe that there's no need to be aggressive or anything, that they send 20 bailiffs along. We can muster up, and I think what we need is Minutemen. We need a militia, voluntary, of course, because militias are normally compulsory. No, a voluntary militia of people that are cool-headed, mature, maybe.
Yeah.
Know the law, and they turn up and they diffuse the situation, and they don't get upset or anything like that. They just say, "Okay, please leave this person alone, and we'll come quietly and we will tell you the law. You're not supposed to do this." There are things called peace officers, I believe.
Yeah, I met a few of them.
Yes, peace officers. But the thing is, they want you to protest. They want you to get violent. That's what they want you to do as an excuse. But really, I think that, you know, if you had a militia of peaceful people, but that's the trouble. But I think that I've got a feeling it's a bit like the last straw that kills the camel's back, you know, breaks the camel's back, rather. I think people have had it up to here, and there's going to be a last straw moment. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. I don't know what.
I would like to say that I agree with that, but I don't, because, I mean, look at what people have put up with in the last 30 years, especially. I mean, it's absolutely insane to see what you take this back 50, 60 years. Would the generation of middle-aged people from the middle classes and lower classes, especially the lower classes, would they have put up with what we put up now? Look at tax rates in the UK and in America, the whole world. Look at the rate. I mean, the whole Boston Tea Party was apparently over a small amount of tax. And yet, compared to what we were dealing with then, look at what we're putting up with. Smoke and mirrors, absolute mind control through the media, and they are deadly efficient. And we're going in blind almost at this point.
We are.
This is negativity talk, and this is me saying, look, we need a lesson in tough love, and I think we're going to get one very soon, unfortunately. But I would rather have avoided this particular step that's coming up. People need, what is it? I'm going to quote Star Trek now. It's a film. Forgive me. You've got to break your prize horse in a Kentucky Derby before it can be victorious, right? So you've got to break through to strengthen them, to toughen them up. And I think we've put up with far too much. We're far too soft. We've been dumbed down massively as a society as a whole, not just specific countries. I think whilst we've been dumbed down and demoralized and made to think that we don't know what clothes to wear on a daily basis, whether it's a skirt or a pair of trousers, if you get my meaning. Other countries are becoming very efficient militarily. They're stacking up their discipline. They're getting their mechanical, mathematics, science skills. They're all very good at those. This is our enemy. We are not prepared to meet the enemy. This is what they've done to us. They've managed to dumb us down to a level that it's difficult to comprehend.
I agree.
You know, and this is, so again, look, this isn't negativity. This is, it's time to start. Look, let's put what we think we know aside and let's actually start learning stuff. Let's start figuring this out.
A typical example was the other week. I won't mention any names or anything. The rubbish bin men, you know, we have these wheelie bins, and that where everything has to be sorted out, and that different cans and different boxes and that, and they just shove the cans all over the place. So when they leave more litter, cans rolling around the road. And where I live, you own up to the curb opposite, so you own the road in front of you.
Right.
And I said, look at all this rubbish, and I complained to the council about it. And someone said, oh, don't worry, someone will pick it up. Someone will pick it up. Well, I'm not prepared to pick it up, because I'll pay a council to do that. And they came, I'll be honest with you, they were quite efficient. They came along and cleared it up.
Really?
Yeah. I got on the internet, and I was on the old jungle drums, did a war dance beforehand, Well, I think the garden gnome thing did it, because I got a garden gnome that pointed out. I said, well, if you don't come and clear this up within the next half hour, I'll come and visit your offices with my garden gnome and insert it into you. No, I didn't say that. that was from
I'm sure that would have gone down really well. Well, I don't know if this is a nationwide thing. You just mentioned the bin service there. Again, this is all part of the council tax. What the hell are we paying for? What are we paying for? I mean, where is it going? Because all the council services, we are now being charged extra for them, as if it's not already part of the things that we're paying for. And then they're doing less work. So around in Teesside, where I am, they've cut the bin collection to every 2 weeks now. So I don't know whether behind the times or ahead of the curve here, but so how is that going to help people? That's just going to stack rubbish up, which is going to promote people fly tipping. It's going to promote people using other ways of just dumping the rubbish all in one location. It's people are going to have rubbish all over the street. Come on, people! What the hell? What is this?
It's been implemented for years where I live. Oh, I forgot how many years now. 10, 6 years. I don't know. But I can't even begin to guess how long. And fine in the winter, but in the summer, you see people's wheelie bins with maggots crawling out of it, going down the side, and a large increase in flies. So it's brilliant for ecology if you like flies. We've got a big fly population, but we're coming up to our hour. It's 1:56, so we're coming close to 2 hours now.
Fair enough. So I'm a late comer today, so I've been a bit distracted.
That's life. What I was going to say is that I think that I'd like to do a healing session, but I haven't had permission from a person who's watching this evening. Yeah, but I think we used to start the show and say, well, somebody that's not very well, we'll all put our minds to try and heal that person. And there's somebody in chat that I think needs a little bit of healing and that, but I've got to do it. So maybe next week that we'll do that, because next week there is Dawn Lester coming on, and she'll be talking about healing using thought. So that will be the perfect time, and to heal somebody that might need healing. So, and I think there is a lot of power in the power of thought for healing and that type of thing. So Dawn Lester's coming on next week, and then the week after, what we got the week after? I've forgotten. Oh yes, the bowler hat farmer's coming on the week after that with Krista Gardner.
So that'll be interesting. That was a very good show, by the way, the other day.
Thank you very much.
Your new guest, I'd say I've had to watch them a couple of days after in recent days, because I forget about them. I'm like, oh right, I've got to catch up on that. But no, he had some very interesting stuff to say.
Especially with the potatoes and that. So because that'll be on the 1st of April. That's a funny day. Monday the 1st. And do you know?
It's not a fool's joke.
Well, apparently they changed the calendar. And because the New Year's Day used to be April the 1st, that used to be the New Year, and they changed the calendar to December, January. So people that still carried on thinking it was a New Year on April the 1st were called fools, April Fools. That's where it came from. So they said
that makes sense, because they used to do it for the Passover period, didn't they? With the spring and the the New Year, the old cult New Year.
Now, Monday the 8th, Mark Devlin might be coming on.
Have you received an email from him?
No, I haven't.
Right, so I'll send him another one, because at the minute, I'll tell you, at the minute he's absolutely chock-a-block, and he's off to America shortly as well, which is not going too well from by all accounts. His tickets aren't really taking off. So give him, I would. I'll see if I can get back in touch with him over that one and see what we can achieve.
That's a long way to go to avoid coming on the show, isn't it? Going to America. I mean, but I was going to tempt him on with some cucumber sandwiches. So I said, come on. only come.
I might go for that.
Might come for the cucumber sandwiches, yeah.
I might go for that.
But then the week after, some bloke called Nathan. Don't know who he is.
I've never heard of him.
On the 15th. Now, do you know who he is?
Nah.
No, he's coming on the 15th. But I haven't told him.
I think he just found out. But
yeah, but we're going to be talking about all kinds of things, esoteric and things. So thank you, everybody. Sorry I haven't been able to read everybody's comments out in chat. And if YouTube don't ban me, we'll have.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
We haven't said tit or bum or anything, so we're all out there.
Oh, we just did that.
Oh, bloody hell! Sorry, we've got Dawn coming on, and she did a book with another chappie called "What Makes You Tom and Dick." What really makes you Tom and Dick? You see, but not exactly in those words. So, I can't have the dirty gag next week, can I? No,
a health-related one.
Well, I've got a real bleeding smutty one. I know that.
That's what you want.
But trouble is, nowadays you've got to be a bit, careful with the smutty gags. You might upset, might get me sort of, you've got to say he, she, miss, or all that sort of stuff, haven't you? Oh, there's another funny thing. My neighbour, who's lost her husband, she sent a letter to the local MP, and it's Mrs. And he sent back Ms. I'm not Ms. I'm Mrs.
Can she not claim microaggression for that one and make a big Twitter storm out of it?
Well, she could do it, or she could claim actually. She could say, "Well, I've had problems with my pronouns. I've taken medicine for it." Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this evening. And all being well, YouTube permitting, same time, same place. Not so much smut and crap next week because.
Can I just do a shameless plug before we call it a day? We're starting up our podcast again. So myself and John Hamer, we've got a series of podcasts over on the John Hamer official BitChute channel. We are finally restarting them. Yeah, there's been a fair hiatus. A lot. Well, we've had a bit of a break. Let's put it that way. To be fair, there's been a lot of technology problems. Laptops dying, then PCs blowing up, cameras not working, etc. So that's coming back. Hopefully, that's going to fall off there. So we're going to be filming that next Friday. We're going to continue off with Behind the Curtain theme and work through his books and various chapters from his books and just continue for a while there, and then probably disappear for another 6 months.
So you're on BitChute. I know that. I know you're on BitChute.
Yeah.
Right. Can I put a dooflop banner along the bottom?
You can. It's literally, if people want to look for it, if you just go onto BitChute and just type in John Hamer Official and you'll find it. It's pretty easy. John Hamer Official. Yeah.
Or afterwards, I could put a link. No, not in the crutch, but down below underneath the comments.
Yeah.
So I could add that in. See, that'd be okay.
That'd be great.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, John, who's run off.
Well, he's got to cavort with the Prime Minister and the
That's right.
He has to do it. It's a duty, civil duty.
Let's face it, he is the cultural attaché to Scarbados, bringing Fockham culture to the primitive peoples of Scarbados. I mean, you're the cultural attaché at the Tyneside, aren't you? You're bringing Fockham culture to the primitive peoples of Tyneside.
Oh, we're not posh enough to be Tyneside, mate. We're Teesside. We are.
Teesside, is it? Oh, so I got muddled up.
Yeah. Tyneside's kind of posh compared to Teesside. We're like the rejects of the whole of England.
Well, they're sort of posh. They get out of the bath to do a wee and things like that. Yeah.
You've got to save water. I'm all for sustainability and good economics, so I'll pee in the bath.
Yeah. Why not? Thanks for joining us tonight. And remember,
thanks for having me again.
Whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night. And it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. Good night.